Any percent I want. Okay. I like that. I worked in the public sector, as you know, last 10 years. Teachers always got raises.
You haven't hit the top of the
No, I was in
category.
administration.
Right.
I was technically an employee. Making way more than what they wanted people to make. They were broke. And so I always claimed to be broke. So anybody who made more than a certain amount, if you were a central officer, you were one raise.
Which meant when you got hired, you had to negotiate.
Well, I was a teacher when I got hired. So. Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna set this over by you if Sandy wants it.
Yeah, not a problem. I'll put it right here, so it's out of the way.
Who's drinking this?
Not me. I'll have a sip, but that's about it.
You wanna drink most of my wine? Cause I only barely put it to my lips.
Would help to start at the beginning. How, above all, do we show our domination over the earth? In that we can fashion all things in our environment to our purpose, the earth for our habitation and source of substance, plant and animal for food and clothing. We can transform everything into an instrument of human service. We are allowed to rule over the world for 6 days with God's will. On the seventh day, however, we are forbidden by divine behest to fashion anything for our purpose. In this way, we acknowledge that we have no rights of ownership or authority over the world. Nothing may be dealt with as we please, for everything belongs to God, the Creator, who has set human beings into the world to rule it according to the divine word. On each Sabbath day, the world, so to speak, is restored to God, and thus we proclaim both to ourselves and to our surroundings that we enjoy only a borrowed authority. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us in-house and online. I invite Beth Pavlo to light our Shabbos candles and truly kindle the start of Shabbat as we rise and turn to page 120 of our prayer books or page 1 of the Satellite Siddur for those joining us by live stream. And I know I eventually get it right.
Good. O source of light and truth, center of the eternal law of God, goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Let's continue reading together. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen. You may be seated. Let's turn to the middle of page 124 of our prayer books, and we'll read responsively. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness.
May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. We continue together on the top of page 128 and page 1. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
May these Shabbat hours of rest and renewal now begun open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise for us all.
We continue on pages 138 and page 2 with Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, hishme'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litehila. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, פני שבת נקבלה, לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם, נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Last verse. בואי ושלום העטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. On page 144, responsively. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברך יראותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון, ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בגלה, בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבא מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עולמיה, יתברך, יתברך, וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם, ויתנשא, ויתהדר, ויתעלה, ויתהלל, שמי לקודשו בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה, ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמא, ואמרו Amen. As we turn the page, we rise for Baruch Hu, which we do responsively. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamavorach. Baruch Adonai Hamavorach le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated. Please turn to the top of page 149 of your prayer book. Praise to you, Adonai our God, for whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Together, creator of the time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows.
Baruch atah Adonai, Amari v'Aravim.
Amen. Let's now turn to the bottom of page 150 of our prayer book, and we'll read together. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people, Israel.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem Keun Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'divarta bam בשבתך, בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך, ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Let's turn to the top of page 157 of our prayer book, or page 4 in the Satellite Siddur. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that where we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. Together, that there is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands, marching together.
Ya lai lai la lai la lai la lai la lai. Ya lai lai la lai la lai la lai. Ya lai la lai 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 la lai. Ya la lai lai ya la lai la lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neder b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, boker yom lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, zeylianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. ונאמר כי פעל אדוני את יעקב וגילו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גל ישראל יא אלי לילה 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 Ya lai lai, ya lai 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 lai.
Let's turn to the middle of page 161, page 5 in the Satellite Siddur. Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Together, watch over us we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours.
Baruch atah. I'm doing the wrong one.
How about Hapo Reis? Is that the one?
I'm totally lost. Sorry. So we'll go on. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. V'shamru 162 v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam b'rit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam b'rit olam. B'ni u'bein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam b'rit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam b'rit olam. Vayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam b'rit olam.
Please rise as we turn to page 164 in our prayer books, page 6 in the satellite Siddur for the Tefillah, the central core of our service. We will read silently or say whatever you're feeling at the moment through page 179. Please be seated when you're done, and we will come back together at the bottom of page 180 once everyone is seated.
Ose Shalom B'Maramav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen. Ose Shalom B'Maramav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen.
Please turn to the middle of page 371 of your prayer books, page 8 in the satellite Siddur. The Misha Berach prayer is for those who are in need of healing, healing of mind, healing of body, healing of spirit. JCM members for whom our prayers have been asked: Leah Jacobson, Joan Thompson, Bert Posner, Arthur Doxer, Frada Rossoff, Stephen Roberts, Marvin Klein, Roberta Schwartz, Jane Barron, Mary Pinto, Joanne Blau, George Cartman, Esty Cartman, Maxine Brenner, Shirley Posner. JC, my friends, and extended family from where prayers have been asked: Ron Derone, Albert Bierman, Robert D'Onofrio, Tal Ora Bat Shira, Morgan Frazier, Ann Corbin, Joe Schraderer, Nick Hewitson, John Vernon, Jill Birch, Stan Klein, Hyla Monasterio, Julia Fitzgerald, Susan Donahue, Margaret Gallivan, Deborah Posner, Alexandra Zito, Ruth Ann Ludoff, Tommy DiLorenzo, Jeff Hershenson, Pamela Michael, Gary Singer, Hal Footlick, Carolina Guevara, Pete Carucci, Gail Yanover. Please raise your hand if you have any additional names that you'd like to add to the Misha Berach list. Please join, I'm sorry, I thought I saw somebody, sorry. Please join hand to Harry with singing the Misha Berach prayer.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mikor HaBracha Lamotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
So I invite Frank Weinberg for tonight's Kiddush and Hamotzi as we rise and turn to page 123 of our prayer book, page 8 in the satellite Siddur.
The seventh day is consecrated to the eternal God. On Shabbat, eternal sign of creation, we remember that we are created in the divine image. We therefore raise the cup in thanksgiving. Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, orei peri hagafen. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצבנו בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
And we have a Bob Holla tonight.
Oh, yay.
So,
Let's all join in. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. The challah is really good. You don't want to miss it. Evan, it's really, you want these.
Sandra, I'll save my glass for you, okay?
that's it. Yep. One of those.
I'm thinking about avocado toast with this tomorrow morning. Too good to let it go to waste.
Traded. So I waited till Sandra started eating hers so I could introduce her. Tonight's parasha,
I want a paper towel.
Va'etchanan, is going to be shared with us by my dear friend Sandra Heckler. You're worth waiting for.
If you don't hear me at some point, wave to me and I'll understand what.
Closer to you once you
Okay. Thank you.
on wheels. How's that?
Okay. Well, once again, we're in Deuteronomy. We've been in Deuteronomy. We're coming to the end of the 5 books of Moses. Excuse me. A few weeks ago, when I was preparing, I'm sorry, I choked on the matzah. A few weeks ago, oh, thank you. A few weeks ago, when I was beginning to prepare this, I was also reading another book at the same time. And the book is called A Team of Rivals, and it's about Abraham Lincoln. And I came to a part, it's towards the end of the book, of course, where Lincoln had been shot, and he was taken to a hotel. And, of course, his wife and his colleagues were standing there. And as he took his last breath, his colleague and friend, Stanton, thank you. Okay. His colleague and friend, Stanton, cried, and then he said, and this is a man for all ages. Well, I was reading that, and all of a sudden, and I had been preparing for this as well, and I said, a man for all ages, Moses. I couldn't help, it came together somehow. And that's the way I've looked at Moses since I've been coming to Torah study on Saturday morning. Now we're in Deuteronomy, and Moses is preparing the people to go into the promised land. Now, the people he's preparing are not the people who came out of Egypt. That generation is gone. They have all died off, with the exception of Moses, Joshua, whom Moses is preparing to lead the people, and a man named Caleb, who's a very good man because he stood up against some of the Israelites when they were not so honest about something. So these are the 3 that are left from the original group. Now, this portion begins, as Cantor said, Va'etchanan, I was begging, or I was pleading. Well, who was pleading? Moses was pleading. With whom? God, I don't know. And why was he pleading? God had told him that he could not enter the promised land. He wasn't going there. And we know that Moses has been God's right-hand man all the way through from the Exodus. And now he's telling him he can't go? Well, the commentary that's given, well, both in something that was handed out by Rabbi Gross and also in our Torah book, the Red Book, the commentary there said that, well, Moses had sinned at least twice in his life. Particularly, this is from after leaving Egypt. The first time was when they were at the bottom of Sinai, and Moses was going to go up to God and receive the 10 Commandments. Now, the people didn't want to go with him. They were afraid because God was up there in a fire, and they saw that fire, and they were not happy about it. But they didn't want the words from God. They wanted to know what he was telling them. So they said to Moses, you go. And he did. And he came back down with the 10 Commandments, as we all know. But when he got down to the bottom, what happened? He saw the golden calf, and he was not happy. Now, whether the 10 Commandments just slipped from his hand, or whether he got mad and flung them, as any human being might do, I don't know which one. It wasn't quite clear. But that's what happened. And God was not happy with him and remembered. Well, later on, as they were wandering around in the desert, they got very thirsty, the people. And when the people got annoyed, whom did they go to? They went to Moses and would beg him to go talk to God because they didn't have a direct relationship with God. Moses did. So he did go to God and told him the people were thirsty. Please do something. I don't know exactly what he said, but anyway, something in that order. And So God told him there was a rock there, and he was supposed to speak to the rock. Who knows? Maybe he misunderstood. I don't know. But he didn't speak to the rock. He hit the rock with a stick or something or other, a tool. And the rock did spew water. They had water. But Moses didn't follow God's commandment, what he was supposed to do. And God didn't forget that. Now, there is a commentary at the bottom of one of the pages in the Red Torah book that says something about, oh, there was another time something else happened, but it wasn't clear about what. I think it even said that maybe they weren't sure what it was. These two, they were sure. Anyway, so poor Moses had a few strikes against him. And there was nothing to say about it. As a matter of fact, supposedly God said to Moses, don't discuss this with me. This is it. You're not going to see the promised land. But he did tell him to climb what was called Mount Pisgah and go look east, west, north, south, look around. That's okay, but you come back down because he wasn't going in there with them. He goes on preparing the people to go into the promised land. And one of the things he does is he reviews the Ten Commandments with them, both in this first and second portion. And there's a commentary in the Torah book, the Red Book, that I found very interesting. It said there aren't many differences between the Ten Commandments of Exodus and the Ten Commandments of Deuteronomy at the end as they're being presented. But one of the differences is that in Exodus, emphasis is placed upon the creation, that it is God who created the world. Here, it says that there was I quote the word, a humanistic change somewhat in Deuteronomy. And what was the change? Well, that what they're told to do for the Sabbath, for the seventh day, is not only you and your family will rest, your slaves, because they did have slaves, your slaves will rest, those who work for you will rest, and even your oxen will rest. And that this was a change in attitude a little bit, not negative, but a change, emphasizing something else, I would say, in addition to what was presented in the first sermon, the creation. So this is what the people are learning. Now, there are more things that they're learning, but I'm not going to go into all of them. I thought that these were some of the more interesting points that we might enjoy picking up on. In the second sermon, what becomes extremely important is what's called the Shema. Now, we just recited the Shema this morning. Here in the Torah study and in all the commentary, if you like, the Shema and the Bahavta are pointed out to be, are focused upon as the center, the watchword of Judaism, of our faith. Frankly, I didn't know that. I knew the Shema, but I didn't look upon it that way. And it was interesting studying it from this point of view. I know we said it already, but let's repeat this. We won't do the Bahavta, I'll talk about that, but let's just repeat the Shema for a moment. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. The Echad is very important. So we've got 6 words there. Listen, Israel. Hear, O Israel. Listen, pay attention. When I was a kid, it was a long time ago, I just had a birthday. When I was a kid, for some years, I didn't understand that it was H-E-A-R. I thought it was H-E-R-E. You know, as a child, we went to temple. It wasn't called that in my town. It was called a shul or synagogue. And we went, and you looked around, and, what did you see? The people, the rabbi, the cantor, et cetera, et cetera. And seeing was very important. Well, it took me a while to realize that the Shema was not about seeing, but about listening. And this was important, what Moses was doing, because he was shifting the people around. He wanted them to listen to these words, to God's words, not necessarily his, but God's words that he was transferring to them. Now, the last word of the Shema itself, those 6 words, is echad. And you know, echad means one. Two other so God is one. There's only one. 2 other translations that were given were, one was indivisible. God is not to be broken up into parts. And what is cited is, I said, as in Christianity, particularly Catholics who talk about the Trinity. And we don't have anything like that. God, there is only one God, and that God is one. That's it. There are no others. There is one other word that I found, it was sort of interesting. It said the echad, instead of being translated as one, is translated as alone. Not meaning lonely, but this is the only God, and it's pounded away at that there are no others. That is the only God there is. And the following part, the v'ahavta, and you shall love the Lord your God, etc. The interesting part about that I found is when you get to, and these are the words, you shall teach your children diligently. And I like that because I was a teacher, and I know some of the other people here were teachers. I always found that being a teacher I liked because I learned. That's what teaching is about. I think it's learning as well. So when he's telling the Israelites that they are to teach their children, they're learning also for themselves in teaching the children. You shall teach your children, and you shall write these words, meaning the Shema and the V'ahavta, upon your doorposts and upon the gates of your house. This has become, as I said, the focus of Judaism today. Where do we write it? Well, true, we don't stop there with a pencil or pen and go jotting something down. We put up a mezuzah in our homes. And the mezuzah contains these words, the Shema and the V'ahavta. One other thing about, the mezuzah. The mezuzah is also a word for doorposts. I thought that was interesting, and I didn't know it. I picked it up from the reading. But this is the highlight of this portion, really, that this is what we learn about. It was one of the most important, it is the most important thing. Let's see, where am I? I had it all memorized, and then I can't remember. Well, actually, so the last part that we come to is about idols, idolatry. Now, we've had that before in the Torah. This is not the first time by any means. And one of the things I always found interesting, this was earlier, but it's repeated here too, when there's a war, or Israel fought with many, many people, all of their names ending in ites, the Moabites, the Ammonites, and all the other ites. Well, anyway, they were warned, when you go into the town which you have defeated, do not go looking at their idols, because you know what's going to happen? You're going to be won over. Now, I find that interesting. I don't know why that was the conclusion, that you couldn't stay away from the idols. But then I began to think about life today. Now, we're coming up to 2025, a quarter of the 21st century. Who talks about idols? Yes, we have lots of idols. Money, fame, all sorts of things. So I don't know if we've changed all that much. They're just different idols. They're not little things little creatures that we adore. It's other things, perhaps have heavier weight, I think. So this is the warning here. Stay away from them. Even to the point where Moses is telling them that God says, don't intermarry, don't do this and don't do that. Don't let your sons marry women from a different group. Don't let your daughters marry men from a different group. You should stay separated. And in that way, I don't think, it's not being mean, but I think it's in that way you will preserve your religion. You're not allowing anybody else in. And this is the way you will keep the commandments. This is the way you will obey everything. Anyway, the last part, there's a comment about the chosen people. And I think that's always been somewhat of a problem, the chosen people. In different ways you can say it, you can look upon it. Was that wonderful to be the chosen people? Well, if God chooses you, yes. And God supposedly chose them. And Moses, I think it was Moses who said, and why did God choose you? You're a small group. Or we were a small group. He's part of it. We were a small group. And he says, and the Israelites were tough, hard-headed. You couldn't convince them of anything. It was really difficult. So why did God choose them? And Moses says, we don't know. God knows, but we don't know. Shabbat shalom. That's all I need.
What you doing?
No, I'm okay.
You okay now?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Sandra. Shabbat Shalom. Greetings from our Board of Directors and a few announcements. Tonight's ONEG was coordinated by Mitch Braun, Bob Jarez, Barbara Holtz, Linda Reitzes, and Beth Weinberg. Current details of everything going on in congregational life can be found on our website, in our monthly newsletter, The Messenger, and in the semi-weekly email notifications we send out to the membership. Tonight, I'd like to remind everyone, the high holiday packet's been mailed out, and please respond appropriately. Monday Night Bingo will return on Monday, October 14th. We are not going to have bingo on October 7th because of the anniversary of the attack on Israel. There will be a commemoration at 7 o'clock that evening at the Federation, and it's still being planned, so I don't have details of that to tell you. But we'll keep you posted as we get more information on that. So make a note for October 7th to attend the Federation Memorial, and for October 14th to start bingo again. Bubby's Bakery will be on Sunday, November 14th, and we're looking for sponsors and volunteers to assist. Sponsorship remains at $100. Women's Book Club Schedule 2425 is on our website. The office is selling memorial yard site candles if you need one. Annie Pinto Jr.'s honey is on sale at the office for $15, and a portion of the sale goes to the temple. Do not forget to bring in food for those in the community less fortunate when you come on Fridays, or leave a donation in the tzedakah box. And now, as we move to conclusion of the service, I invite to the beam our final honorees, the Bergman family. Let us please reopen our prayer books to page 586 and rise together for Elena.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
You may be seated. At the rising sun and at its going down, we remember them. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick in heart, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. For as long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. Tonight, we recite Kaddish for those observing Shiva, David Gordon. And for those who are observing the 3rd days of Shloshim, sorry, we don't have anybody there. And we remember, And for those loved ones for whom we are observing Yortzeit tonight. Jennifer Cohen, Sadie Fast, Rose Cantor, Mildred Melkin, Louis Mays, Dr. Morris Pachin, Hyman Posner, Ida Rosenberg, Joe Stephen Rosenberg, Rhoda Ross, Arnold Charles Saltzman, Zavulun Tuckman, Minna Wallach, Hyman Weiss, Francis Zakin, Leah Zellman. Is there anyone else who's observing Shiva or Shloshim or Yortzeit? Please raise your hand. Please rise as we turn to page 598 in our prayer book, page 10 in the Satellite Siddur. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yama divra kirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayichon uv'meichon uv'chaye dekal beit Yisrael, ba'agala evizban karim v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lomei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal shemei kudisha b'richu. La'ela minkal berchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, da amiran bi'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'yakal Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imrumav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'yakal Yisrael, v'imru, amen.
Be the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, and comfort to the bereaved. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
To conclude this evening's service, we turn to page 626 in our Gates of Prayer and page 11 in your Satellite Siddur. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, אין כמו שינו, מיך אלוהינו, מיך אדוננו, מיך מלכנו, מיך מושיענו. נודה לאלוהינו, נודה לאדוננו, נודה למלכנו, נודה למושיענו. ברוך אלוהינו, ברוך אדוננו, ברוך מלכנו, ברוך מושיענו. אתה הוא אלוהינו, אתה הוא אדוננו, אתה הוא מלכנו, אתה הוא מושיענו. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you. Shabbat shalom.